A man was walking on a beach when he saw a woman with no arms or legs crying. He asked what was wrong. She said, "I have no arms, no legs, and I've never been hugged." He hugged her and kept walking. A few minutes later, he sees her crying again. He asked what was wrong now. She said, "I have no arms, no legs, and I've never been kissed." He kissed her and kept walking. A few minutes later, he saw her crying yet again, and again he asked what was wrong. She said, "I have no arms and no legs, and I've never been f***ed." He picked her up, threw her in the ocean, and said, "Well, you're f***ed now."
Three guys were on a prison transfer, and before they boarded, the warden told them each they could bring one item for entertainment. As the bus rumbled along, one prisoner nudged another and asked, "All right, mate, what'd you choose?" The first guy proudly held up a set of paints and brushes. "I'm going to paint every day," he said. "By the time I get out, they'll be calling me the Van Gogh of Cell Block C." He then turned to the next guy. "And you?" The second man flashed a deck of cards. "Endless options," he said. "Poker, blackjack, solitaire. Time's going to fly." Meanwhile, the third prisoner just sat there with a smug little grin on his face. The other two finally asked, "What's with the look? What did you bring?" The guy reached into his bag and pulled out a box of tampons. The others stared. "What on earth are you going to do with those?" He pointed to the label on the box and smirked. "Well, according to the box, I can go horseback riding, swimming, roller skating."
A horse and a chicken were playing and having fun in a meadow when suddenly the horse fell into a muddy hole and started rapidly sinking. He called out to the chicken, "Quick, go get old Farmer Jones to help me out." The chicken sped off but couldn't find the farmer anywhere. Instead, he hopped into the farmer's fancy Mercedes, drove to the hole, tied a rope to the bumper, tossed the rope to the horse, and saved his friend. A few days later, the two were playing again when this time the chicken fell into the same hole. He yelled to the horse, "Go get the farmer's car." The horse said, "No need, my feathered friend. I think I can handle this." He backed and squatted over the hole and told the chicken, "Look up, grab onto my, and pull yourself up." The chicken did, and he was saved. Moral of the story, if you're hung like a horse, you don't need a fancy Mercedes to pick up chicks.
A husband wrote the following letter for his wife and left it on the dining room table. "To my dear wife, you will surely understand that I have certain needs that you, being 54 years old, can no longer satisfy. I am very happy with you, and I value you as a good wife. Therefore, after reading this letter, I hope that you will not wrongly interpret the fact that I will be spending the evening with my 18-year-old secretary at the Comfort Inn Hotel. Please don't be upset. I shall be home before midnight." When the man came home late that night, he found the following letter on the dining room table. "My dear husband, I received your letter and thank you for your honesty about my being 54 years old. I would like to take this opportunity to remind you that you are also 54 years old. As you know, I am a math teacher at our local college. I would like to inform you that while you read this, I will be at the Marriott Hotel with Michael, one of my students. He is young, virile, and like your secretary, is 18 years old. As a successful businessman who has an excellent knowledge of math, you will understand that although it may appear that we are in the same situation, there is one mathematical difference. 18 goes into 54 a lot more times than 54 goes into 18. Therefore, I will not be home until sometime tomorrow."
A good Jewish boy announces to his father that he is moving out. About a year later, the son returns home and tells his father that he has converted to Christianity. The father is mortified and gets on the phone to his friend, who is also Jewish. "Saul, you won't believe this. My son David moved out for just 1 year and came back and told me he converted to Christianity." Saul says, "No way, you won't believe this. My son Benjamin left home for a year, and when he came back, he converted to Christianity too." Both men were so upset that they called their rabbi and explained the situation. The rabbi says, "You won't believe this. My son Joshua moved away, and when he came back, he told me he converted to Christianity too." The rabbi suggests they call God and tell him. The rabbi tells God that all three men had sons who moved away and converted to Christianity and don't know what to do. God says to them, "You guys ain't gonna believe this."
My flight was being served by an obviously gay flight attendant who seemed to put everyone in a good mood as he served us food and drinks. As the plane prepared to descend, he came swishing down the aisle and told us that Captain Marvey has asked me to announce that he'll be landing the big scary plane shortly. So lovely people, if you could just put your trays up, that would be super. On his trip back up the aisle, he noticed this well-dressed and rather Arabic-looking woman hadn't moved a muscle. "Perhaps you didn't hear me over those big brute engines, but I asked you to raise your traysy-poo so the main man can pity-pat us on the ground." She calmly turned her head and said, "In my country, I am called a princess, and I take orders from no one." To which, I swear, the flight attendant replied without missing a beat, "Well, sweet cheeks, in my country I'm called a queen, so I outrank you. Tray up, bitch." An elderly couple walked past me holding hands, and as they did, I jokingly called out to the gentleman, "Make sure you have her home by 10, with a smile and a wink. The old man stopped dead in his tracks, looked me dead in the eye, and without missing a beat, said with a grin, "Don't worry, sonny, I will. Her husband gets home by 11. "What?" I laughed so hard and nearly fell over as they giggled and walked away. Moral, don't underestimate the wit of the older generation. They're sharper than you think. My stepsister walked into my room one day, and she says, "Hey, big brother, take off my shirt." So I took off her shirt. Then she says, "Take off my skirt." So I took off her skirt. Then she says, "Take off my bra and panties." So I took off her bra and panties. Then she says, "If I ever catch you wearing my clothes again, I'm telling Mom and Dad." A blonde came running up to her husband in the driveway as he came home from work, just jumping for joy. He didn't know why she was jumping for joy, but thought, "What the heck?" and started jumping up and down with her. She said, "Honey, I have some really great news for you." He said, "Great, tell me what you're so happy about." She stopped jumping and was breathing heavily from all the jumping up and down when she told him that she was pregnant. He kissed her and told her, "That's great, I couldn't be happier." Then she said, "Oh, honey, there's more." He asked, "What do you mean, more?" She said, "Well, we are not having just one baby, we are going to have twins." Amazed at how she could know so soon after getting pregnant, he asked her how she knew. She said, "Well, that was the easy part. I went to Walmart and bought the twin pack home pregnancy test kit, and both tests came out positive." After a weekend getaway, a sergeant returned to the military base only to find none of his soldiers had arrived on time. 3 hours passed before they began trickling in, and by then he was ready to burst with frustration. Deciding to hear their excuses, he summoned each soldier to his office one by one. The first soldier entered, and the sergeant demanded, "Why were you late?" "Sorry, sir. Here's what happened," the soldier began. "I missed the bus, tried hitchhiking, and an old man in a horse-drawn buggy offered me a ride. I couldn't refuse, but it was slow going." The sergeant muttered, surprised. "I suppose that's understandable," and he let the soldier off. This scenario repeated with each soldier presenting the exact same tale of slow horse-drawn travel as their reason for tardiness. Finally, the last soldier walked in, and the sergeant, now visibly irritated, sarcastically asked, "Let me guess, you hitchhiked too?" "Yes, sir." "And you got a ride?" "Yes, sir." "On a horse and buggy?" "No, sir." "No?" the sergeant questioned, taken aback. "No, sir. It was a 2014 Mercedes, sir." "Then why in the world were you late?" the sergeant demanded.
We tried to hurry, sir, the soldier replied apologetically, but the road was completely blocked with horse-drawn buggies.
I was in the garden with my wife when she winked at me and said, "Do you want me to, go down?" "Sure," I replied. "Just let me get my shovel."